Um, Thank you for joining Permission Granted. I'm your host, Juliette Ricci Lagman. Today we have a very special guest, Katherine Litz. She's an energy healer and transformational guide, and we're just going to jump right into it. So, Katherine, welcome, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
um, Go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Uh, a transformational guide, a energy healer, and a Master Reiki practitioner. I have a practice in Lynwood, Washington, and I've been practicing for a few years, but my path to this my purpose has been for many years, and actually I think I've actually been doing this my entire life. I first started off in the medical field. So I was in the medical field for about over 25 years. And it's kind of led me to where I am now. Let's see, I have three children. I have a 21-year-old daughter and 12-year-old twin boys. And then I just grandma. So I have a
Oh,
4-month-old grandson. And
oh,
yeah, it's been quite the adventure as most of us have been on the last few years has been a journey. And I am so grateful to be on the other side and
mhm.
thriving and having a growing practice and being able to help serve others to transform and to ascend and to get on the other side of fear and lack
Mm.
and unworthiness. So yeah.
Oh, so I'm so glad you said all of that in the introduction. So we're going to come back a little bit to that, but first, can you tell me what kind of regular 9 to 5 jobs or non-energy healing jobs that you've had in the past?
Yeah, I was in start off with pediatrics. Obviously first I started with clothing stores, Nordstrom's and all that. I love shoes and clothes and everything.
Me too.
Called like a bougie healer, I like
Yeah. Oh, I love it.
high stilettos and all that. But then I went into pediatrics and I was in family practice and then ultimately went into the dental field. So I was an anesthesia assistant in oral surgery for about 13 years. And that's when I became pregnant with my twins and
Mm.
stayed home with them. But at that time that I had started a network marketing business, and I did that for while I was raising them for another 10 years or so, and grew a big business with that. But ultimately it just wasn't resonating anymore. And that's when this, more spiritual side of me started to come out through a lot of, I would say, hardship and different things that I really needed I started to tap into, with a deeper meaning, if you will, and really doing a lot of self-development and personal development. So,
I'm glad you touched on that because this is kind of a running theme. So I was going to ask you, what moment you knew that you were ready to take the leap into your own business, basically. But bigger than that, it seems to be a theme that, a lot of catastrophes or hardships will happen before you get to the other side. Like basically, you're going to have kind of a life meltdown so you can start over and build up. Can you tell me more about that?
yeah. So I was married and with my ex for about 27 years. And, um, and, I just, with three kids and everything, like I was just so overwhelmed and just things were not resonating anymore, and I was raised very strict Catholic. So, um, through my upbringing, it was just, no, you just smile and you're the good girl and you do all the things, and is the perfect, tried to be the perfect wife and the perfect everything, and do everything that I was taught by the book so I wouldn't get in trouble, kind of thing. And and it was not until I was in my 40s that it was just like I was slowly losing myself, and kind of, I would say my light was really going out. And it was just, gosh, I need to figure something out. I need to work on myself, and so in that, doing all kinds of personal development and all of that, and that's when I happened upon more energy medicine, and so I was guided to become a Reiki master, and I didn't know what that was. Like, being very religious, like, what is this? And oh my gosh, what is this woo-woo stuff? And, and so, but with that, I had grown and healed so much, and my eyes were opened to so many things. And then it was almost like people started to come to me, right? And then I started to guide them and almost have the answers. And I would say it was a slow process because I begrudgingly, like, I did not want to be a healer. I did not think that was my path, and I'm like, how can I be a healer? Like, no way. And
there was resistance.
oh my gosh, like, major resistance for years, even though it was very clear, but I'm like, nope, that can't be it. And then, eventually it just, when you resist, it just gets louder and louder, the call gets louder and louder. And at that point, I had gone through a divorce and ended up not having a home. So homeless, ended up living with my cousins, and then, to different friends' houses and all of that. And through all of that, deepened my own practice. And what happened is it seemed as though when I would overcome an obstacle, or I would have a, profound shift, I would all of a sudden get a surge of people coming to me with the same thing. And so I would then come through that. And then I would go through the next thing. And then I would overcome that. And then all of a sudden another group of, clients would come. And so that is kind of how the journey has been for me. And it reminds me of more of the medical thing, is like to see one, do one, teach one. And so, it's like I would have to, let's say, heal myself first.
Yeah.
So then I could then guide or help others to heal themselves and kind of hold their hand through that process.
And why do you think that we are not allowing ourselves, and that we ignore the call when we get it? Because it'll keep coming until you answer it.
Yeah. And I think a majority of why is because we have been really taught not to follow our intuition, not to be tapped in, and to seek outside of ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah,
that is very true. I want everybody to pause and listen to that, because we're so busy ingesting and consuming all this information, including, of course, our phones, TVs, music. When are we ever allowed to just stop and listen? I know it can be scary for some folks to stop and listen because they don't like what's inside of there, but those are the people who need to do it the most.
Yeah. And, we've been we've been conditioned basically to not, and to listen to other people. And that was how I was raised, was to, you're silly little girl, you don't know anything, listen to, basically the hierarchy, right?
Yep.
That's what I should have listened to. And I did. And, because I was being the good girl. I was, doing what I was supposed to do. And so, and the thing is also is learning to differentiate what is your intuition and what is mind, what is your mind and your thoughts and your programming telling you, or what is truly your soul telling you and your intuition guiding you to. And I don't think, we definitely do not pause long enough. We are in this rat race. And so it is really difficult to hear and to get into tune, in tune with our intuition. And that, I guess, is, like a big thing. So, but you have to stop and listen and pause and put in the work, because it does take work and it takes time. And to trust yourself and to know. And so it's not this thinking and questioning, it's a deep knowing. And then you just know there's really no other thoughts with it. But that's a process to get to that point, to just know and shut everything off. And
how do you know I think you're explaining it as we're going here, but just maybe in, I don't want to say black and white terms, but simple terms, like how do you know it's your intuition / soul talking versus your brain?
For me, I would say a lot of my, if it's thoughts and it's more of a question, but then, oh, maybe this or maybe that. And here's the thing is our mind will kick in very quickly. And if you are in mind and in thoughts most of the time, right, it's really hard to differentiate. So the first step is recognizing that you're having thoughts, right, is to recognize there's even mind there, because it's just running on autopilot. It's just running with random stuff all day long, And even recognize, oh, that's going on. Whereas generally we just follow that all day long. And there's thought on top of thought, on top of thought, and on top of thought. So the first thing is to learn how to, I guess, step back and observe your thoughts. When do meditation, people are like, oh, quiet your mind, or, like stop your thoughts, or just be, quiet. And that's really hard. Our mind is made to have thoughts, right? We are made to have thoughts. And so to quiet it down and just observe it is the number one thing.
And how do you do that? Do you say literally, I've heard people say, oh, that's my thoughts talking, or, oh, that's a thought, literally stopping and saying that to yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. And I use it as, I guess in simple terms is I'm like mind or soul, which one am I in? Mind. Okay. Oh no, that's mind. That's mind talking, and I'll sometimes just go mind, especially when we're like saying our stories and all this stuff. We're just like, it's just coming out and we're all over the place. And so, it's just to learn that you're having thoughts for one, and emotions, same thing. And then to be able to, as you practice stepping back and observing it, then you start to recognize when you are having thoughts like, oh, I'm lost in my thoughts. Oh, no, there's mine just, popping off again.
Yeah.
As you do that more, it starts to become quieter, right? There starts to be space in between the thoughts. Whereas when I first started my journey, I was at the bottom of a hole, and a deep, dark spot. And I would say my mind was frantic, like, like thought on top of thought, on top of fear, on top of anxiety, just constantly.
Yeah.
And just, with that as well, like how much stress that is on your body. Because I like to tell my clients too, is that your mind, or your body doesn't know the difference whether something is happening now or it happened in the past or in the future. So if you're having a thought of something that happened in the past, that's, sad or all of that, or something in the future that you're anxious about, your body thinks it's happening right now.
Yeah.
So that's where my mind and body was, and to just start to observe and start to even know that there was a difference. Like I didn't know that, I just thought that was me, right? I didn't know, no, I'm a soul, right? That this is just my mind and my programming and all of that, and my emotions, but they're not me. I'm having thoughts and emotions, but I am a soul. And so I pulled back and started to observe that, it started to quiet down.
And our thoughts can often err towards the side of negative because it's built to keep us safe, and it's kind of, how people sell things, So something that you taught me is just sort of the visual, a couple things, the visual of being down in the weeds and trying to figure things out with your brain versus looking up at the cliff. So just that visual alone really helped me hold on to that, looking up at the cliff and, the sky, and like, looking for answers outside of yourself. Or how do I say, well, you could explain it better than me.
No, yeah, I explain, like, think about it like a valley, and up on the cliff, let's say up on the hill is your intuition or your guidance or whatever you believe, if it's God or the universe or your angels or whatever is up on the cliff guiding you, but you're down in the valley, and your mind only knows the past of what it perceived from the point of where it was, at that time. And it guesses based on that what the future may be, but it doesn't know what the future will be, right? So it just guesses. So if you're down in, and think about down in the weeds, is it's thick and you can't see anything ahead of you, right? Future. But it remembers, oh, I just passed a rock, or, oh, that just, happened. I just stepped in a puddle or whatever. And so your intuition, like with, me doing this work, was like, go left. Well, your intuition is trying to guide you, but your mind tries to override. It's like, well, no, last time I went left, I ran into a rock, and no, I'm not going to do that. And so it just keeps spinning, or I say, pulling in the weeds. And the thing is that's in your thoughts, right? Is just you're in the weeds. And if you pull yourself out and kind of rise above or observe it from a higher perspective, then you are not down in the weeds, circling in the pit, if you will, that you're able to pull back and start to really see a difference, if you will.
And
then this hear, right, that intuition and those nudges, and then you can see when mind kicks in and goes, oh, nope, I don't want to do that, and then fear comes in, right, and all of that. That's what meditation, and putting yourself in this calmer spot where you're really in soul. Then you feel when that fear kicks in and know that that's just fear and mind.
So let's talk about that. On that note, that's another thing you taught me, is the choice between love and fear. So it is a choice. Yeah. So can we talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So I guess getting to that the world we live in, or this dimension, is based in duality. And so opposites, right? Polar, and love and hate and fear, and hot, cold, positive, negative, North Pole, South Pole, everything has an opposite. And so here it's based in fear, right?
Mhm.
And so you have this choice of fear or love. But the thing that's also how we learn is, if you haven't experienced fear or sadness, well, you don't know what love feels like. And
Mm.
so we have the ability here in this human experience is to experience all ranges, the whole range of emotions, and so that is the thing, is that we have that choice also, is, do we recognize its fear and then keep going in that direction, right? And
Right.
just getting caught up in it, and then more fear and more anxiety and all that? Or do you pause and recognize that is what it is, and then pull yourself back and give yourself compassion and love and empathy,
Yeah.
and then start to go back in the other way of love, and yeah, so that's
And that's what I noticed working with you, were those two sort of big lessons. And that was from our first session together. And it was so timely because, I was struggling with my work situation and in general with my energy. My body was in a lot of pain. And then once my breast cancer diagnosis came around, I was like ready for it because I had been given the tools to deal with it. And I grew up in Christian Science, and so we believe in Christian Science. Teaches spiritual healing, but this was like giving me these very clear visual bullet point tools that I could just take and move forward with. Um, one thing I want to ask you about, can you sort of for our listeners define Reiki, um, and then also, more importantly, define what does a session with you look like? Can you define what you do?
Yeah. And I would say, so I am a, Master Reiki practitioner, but I would say, like, I didn't know that I was already doing energy medicine, right? And when I became or did my first Reiki session, and I wasn't even attuned to Reiki yet, and it's all energy, so it's healing energy, and we are vibration, and we are energy, and that is able to be transferred and influenced between people.
Mhm.
So I guess when I went to my first, called a Reiki share, um, my teacher was like, well, you haven't had Reiki yet, so you don't really know what you're doing, kind of thing. And when I laid my hands on her, she was like, oh my gosh, she could already feel my energy. And she's like, oh, like, you're already doing it. And I'm like, doing what? Like, right. But that's when I realized that, yeah, that's why I went into the medical field, right? Is
Yeah.
to help through my energy, to help people feel better,
Yeah.
to give them almost a vibrational guide, if you will, to that they could feel a higher vibration. And with that, it raises their vibration, right? And allows their body to heal um,
Oh,
through, I guess, that energetic guidance. Because
yeah.
our mind tries to figure it out, right? Well, what is that? What is it? Well, the thing is, we all know what energy is, right? We all, and now, it's like, oh, the vibes, right? So to
Yes.
explain, like, people know what it is, but they want like a clear cut, like, what do you do? Well,
Right.
it's kind of hard to define, or what are you going to do? And I'll go through kind of what a session is, but
Yeah.
when you walk into a room, people are like, oh, the vibes are off, right?
Hmm.
Or they walk in and like, ooh, I loved your vibes, like we are vibrational beings, right?
Yeah.
And everything is frequency. And so fear and love, like you said, are a frequency. So quite easily, okay, you can tap into, what does fear feel like? Right.
Right. Oh, yeah. Easy.
People instantly can just go, oh, what does fear feel like? Okay, what does love feel like? What does anger feel like? Okay, those are all vibrations, all frequencies that we know, right? That our body can feel. So in a session with me is I have done so much work that and this is my calling, and my gift is putting myself into this space of unconditional love. When clients come in, and this I recognized forever ago, is that people would just start opening up to me and start telling me like everything and their deepest, darkest thing. I'm like, what in the world is happening? After being married for so long and then going into the dating world, I remember going on a couple dates, and I mean, the middle of it, guys would be crying and telling me
my word.
things that they've never told anybody, and things about like a child that they had, that nobody knows about. I mean, that kind of thing. And so that's what also kind of strengthened, like, okay, this is something, like, this is a gift that I have. And
you have a very maternal nature to you, and very warm and inviting, and it welcomes, easy connection. You're magnetic, literally, so it is a gift.
Thank you. And so with that, is that people will feel the energy. And so the energy that I emit, right, or that comes through me, is a healing energy.
Yeah.
And it looks different for everybody, because we all have different traumas. We all have different things that we're going through at the moment. And so it's not like a plumber, that like, my problem is, a leaky pipe. And so I can come in and fix the leaky pipe. Well, like, it depends on what people are going through. And the thing is, these are also subconscious things and childhood things and all of that, we hold on to trauma, right? Our body holds on to trauma. And so I will feel energy. So when somebody comes in for a session, generally we will just talk at first, because a lot of people will come in like, I have no idea why I'm here, or what you can do, like, what can you do for me, And so the first thing is we just sit down and talk, and the thing is people don't need to say anything, right? It is energy. And like you can feel somebody's vibes. They don't even say anything, right? But you can feel that energy from people, and it will influence your body, right? And which is a reason to definitely protect your own energy, right? But when people come in with the intention or on their heart to just, for one, most people just want to feel better, right? However that looks. They just want to be at peace. Maybe their life is chaotic, or their body is chaotic, or all of that, and they just want to feel better. And so basically, in a nutshell, I help people feel better, in
Mm.
whatever way that is. And
Mm-hmm.
so if that is through that, they need to talk and be seen and heard and
Mm.
and then, because I in my session am in soul, that guidance will just come through me and just I will speak. And whereas then my mind is like, wow, that was really good, like, or, oh, I didn't
Yeah.
hear that, or, oh, well, that was actually for me too. Like, I needed to hear that, because it's almost channeling, if you will, from the universe or God, or sometimes it's channeling different angels, or I've, archangels sometimes around me, and
Yeah.
Jesus sometimes show up, that kind of freaked me out first. But, it just depends. Or also the thing is, when people want answers, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so then after that, I will have them just lay on a massage bed, fully clothed and under a blanket, and it's usually warm and comfy.
Yes. My
And
favorite part.
yeah, and I will just lay my hands on them appropriately, of course, but on their head or their shoulder or their feet, and because I can feel energy
Yeah.
and can shift or alchemize, if you will, energy from fear to love, because
Yep.
energy can't be created or destroyed, but it can be changed, right?
I
So
love that.
being in a higher vibration of love and of healing, it allows you to release or to shift those emotions and those traumas from your body and let them go, because you're also not in a place of resistance. You have the
Yeah.
intention that you want to feel better, and that there's somebody there to help you, right?
And you're in a safe place.
Yeah.
I've noticed through working with you, there were a couple times in particular where you put your hands towards my head and I could feel the vibrations kind of, I don't know how to explain it, but emanating from my head, like clearing out. And it was very comforting. And it actually kind of forced my mind to stop running, and in the best way, like, oh, I need to make that dentist appointment and I need to do this. And it just like wouldn't allow that space. And so I just, surrendered to it, and I just felt the good vibes and the healing. In addition to which, and maybe you can speak to this, there were a couple sessions where I felt the negativity like jolt and leave my body. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Well, that is also you and your soul and whatever is ready to release those things. And it would
Mm-hmm.
be resistance, or it's really hard to know. I can't exactly know. And the thing,
Yeah.
I don't want to know why, right?
Yeah.
People will say, I will feel the energy. And if I need to say something to you on maybe this is what it is or whatever, then I will. But see, the mind wants to know, right? It wants to
Yep.
find out, where as soul just is and is at peace, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so your soul is only in the present moment, right? And so when you're in mind, that's past and future, right? I need to make a dentist appointment, or
Yeah.
gosh, what was that? Like, what just left my body? What was that? Well, if I said,
Yeah.
if I said to you, oh, I feel this negative energy. Oh, you were bit by a dog when you were 5. Okay, what would the mind do? The
Yeah.
mind start thinking back and remembering, oh my gosh, that was right. Oh, that was really traumatic. Oh my God. Oh yeah, that's why I don't
Oh,
like dogs. That's what, okay. You see
yeah.
your mind. Like, now
Yeah.
you are just bringing up, and now you're reliving, and now you are, right? And now where's your body?
Yep.
Back in that state again. And wasn't
Yeah.
the whole point to release it, right? And think
Yeah.
about all the things, all the traumas, that you've had in your life that your whole body is holding on to, right?
Yeah.
So it is the frequency and the energy of that particular thing, say fear, that frequency releasing from your body in layers,
Yes.
right? And so it may be a bunch of things, right, that were really, when you were 14,
Because
when you were 21, and when you were,
yeah.
all these things that you've been through, and you sprained your ankle, and I don't know, but
Yeah, your first broken heart or whatever. I mean,
right?
how many times are we told not to cry or ashamed to express ourselves? So we just stuff things down
Yeah.
because, especially as kids, we're not in a safe space to release those things, or we're told to just suck it up, and it stays in your body until
Yeah.
you literally release it.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so that is I create this safe place, the safe container. And then through my energy is having that nurturing, that being seen and felt and heard. And so people will be able to, you're able to let those guards down. You're able
Yeah.
to release that resistance. So your body is able to let them go. And
Yeah.
I hold your hand through that. I, through my frequency, create that safe place and help those energies to shift and to release.
So tell me about like, is there, okay, I don't know how to word this. Is there a recommended amount of visits? And I'm sure it's different for everybody, but like, it might take a couple sessions to start feeling comfortable. Like, what
Yeah.
would you recommend for your clients in that vein?
I would say in general, usually people will come to see me weekly,
Yeah.
because it's, I guess, establishing this new way of being, right?
Yeah.
And people are generally, we are in mind all the time, right? And moms and stuff will come into me, or businessmen, and it's like, oh, I just want to, like, oh, I just lay down, and they will, well, most people just fall asleep, right?
Yep.
And then they wake up and they're like, well, I was here, but I wasn't here, but I was like in a different dimension, and it's pretty funny. But feeling that it's peace, right? They are
Yeah.
not in this frantic rat race, and their mind, and I help them to not be in mind, to be in soul, right? Into
Yeah.
be in the present moment, and have this safe container of leave everything outside the door and be right here, and I will be with you, and we will create this space to shift and to release. And so, but it's layer by layer by layer, right?
It's like an onion peel.
Yes. And so
Yeah.
everybody's onion is different, right?
Yep.
And also, are you practicing outside?
Yep.
And so I also, in my sessions, are trying to help you to not need me, right?
And you have to come open to it. You can't just come and say, fix me. It's not a haircut. It's
Yeah.
like you have to bring your intentions as a client as well.
Yeah. And that is the thing, is that we seek validation, we seek healing, we seek some outside of ourselves, right? We want to go to someone or have someone fix us or fill us, complete us, or, fill whatever void we have. And the thing is that it's all inside, right?
Right.
So there is nothing external to you that is going to fill that void or fix that, or right. And so even, I tell my clients, even coming to me, is I teach, and to feel into their own resonance. Does this feel right to you? Because I want people to truly know themselves, and know themselves as soul and their intuition, and their guidance system that is all within them. So they do not need anything really outside of themselves. They don't need to seek for answers and all of that. And you get, I mean, just Google, like how to meditate or what's a good morning practice. And you will get, the list of things that is good for you in the morning, right? Like
it's quite long
all day long, right?
Yep. That is very true.
Right. And so the thing is you can't, yes, you can get ideas and tools and all of that. And I help you with tools, but then ultimately now turn inward. Does this feel right? Right?
Yeah.
Feel into, okay, should I journal today? Feel into that. Nope, that doesn't resonate right now. And that's with everything you watch, with everything you read, with every person, right? Is to feel into your own resonance. And it is getting your mind quiet enough, your body quiet enough to be able to hear it.
I feel that I should jump in and say, when I was working with you, maybe 2 or 3 months in, I said, now my job is going to be to get healthy. That's what I said. And you clearly stated to me, now your job is to learn who you are. And boy, did that stick with me. I held on to that so hard. And I was like, yeah, it is. It's not, then I started thinking it's not figure out how to make money because, I'm learning my worth is not how much money I make or how hard I work. But it's to learn who I truly am and, express that really.
Now, the thing is with that as well, is this is also the part I'm learning, right? Because here's the thing is I'm on this journey with you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm on this journey with everybody, right? And so I will, like I said, kind of have this epiphany or these lessons or whatever. Yep. And, right before then someone comes to me and then I can share and help them through that, right?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, though, is when you now how the universe works is that like attracts like, right? And in manifestation, right? So if you are feeling unworthy and, I'm unworthy, well, you will get more of unworthiness, right? Mm-hmm. If you are experiencing a lot of fear, well, you're going to get things in your external reality that are more fear, right?
If you're complaining, guess what? You're going to get more stuff to complain about.
Exactly. Yeah. And same with lack, right? So if you don't feel worthy and you don't have enough money and and you're feeling that within you, well, what shows up in the external reality is more lack, right?
Yep.
So that's is that everything does start within. We've been taught to look outside of ourselves, to seek outside of ourselves, and it's the other way around.
Yeah.
It's within you first, and you shift that vibration within you to worthiness, right?
Yeah.
And then you start to attract that worthiness.
Yeah.
Right? Money and all of that, the same thing is when you feel worthy, well, you all of a sudden get more opportunities. Things start to come to you, right? And so our number one job is internal, is to shift our own vibration, is to peel back the layers and to be in that present state. And that's why we teach being present, is because that's what the goal is. That's where you are and where you will get your own guidance.
Yeah. And that's why they call it a practice, because it's not perfect. It's a practice and it's work. And we can't just, I was having this discussion with Mo, my coach. We can't just expect to go somewhere and be fixed. We actually have to do the work, the internal work, the hard work at looking inside ourselves, feeling those feelings, uncovering those dusty rocks. Because we're going to wrap up on time just a little bit here, I just want to veer it towards, and we can talk more, but do you have any like quick success stories? And also, second part of the question, physical like healing. Um, and maybe not, but do you have any easy to grab success stories that you've experienced with your clients that you're comfortable sharing?
Sure. I would say there's several, but I can say overall theme. I've had people come to me that, they, don't have, they're trying to date, and like they meeting jerks, or, there a couple of gentlemen were, like they just cannot find this, woman, and everybody out there is just awful and
Mm,
them and everything. And when we start to work together and again go internally and their own self-worth and their own boundaries and all of that, that a couple of them have attracted wonderful relationships with
wow.
people that saw their worth because they saw their worth first, right?
Yeah.
And putting up with the crap, right? So the universe is like, okay, now you are able to, right? It's kind of opening that gate to here's that vibration that will match your worthiness.
Yeah.
Also, a couple people say that they were suicidal, and
Oh.
that they didn't want to go to traditional therapy because in traditional therapy, they would just talk about the same thing over and over. Well, as what
Mhm.
we've already established is, well, that keeps you in that looping, right? Of
Yeah.
your past. If you just keep talking about it over and over, and you're in the same vibration of fear and all that, where you're just going to keep looping in that. And so in breaking, I guess, that pattern and turning inward as well and giving them the tools, there are so many, and the thing is with this is that things will fall away from your life that are no longer serving you.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
that's why my, guidance and coaching is, because it can be like, oh my gosh, scary. I'm all of a sudden losing my house. I mean, just like me, losing my house and losing my family and losing everything. Well, here's the thing is that sometimes all of it has to fall away to make
Yeah.
room, right? And so it is a process. And so, yes, I have people that they've left, their partnerships and lost a house and all of that. And then, a few months later, even in the same time, now they have this new job that they love. They, have this new relationship that's wonderful, and not that everything is sunshine and roses, but like they are no longer in that deep, dark pit. And when
Yes.
things come to them that are not what they prefer, they also don't spiral into fear. They can look at
Hmm.
it as, okay, well, there's a reason maybe for this, and let me look at it from a different way, or how can we work, through this and not go down into that deep, dark place.
I'm so glad you said that because that's how I felt for a good chunk of my life. And one thing additionally that you taught me is, and that I've learned this through meditation, um, nothing is either good or bad. It just is what it is. So we as humans attribute the good or bad to it because of the duality. So you're like, oh, I noticed that, don't like that. Or, oh, this is great. But, kind of keeping it neutral really is a healthy way to behave because when we're like, oh, I'm so happy because of this external thing that happened, or oh, I'm so sad, that's just telling the universe, or earth or whatever, that you're just going to be knocked around by all these outside forces
Yeah.
and not already having that baseline um, contentment on the inside that will sustain you.
Yeah. And that's, and people have probably felt this before, that something bad that they perceive as bad is happening. So let's say they
Yeah.
lost a job or whatever, like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. And then a couple months later, they have a new job or there's something and they're like, oh my God, I am so glad that I lost that job. Or like, that was the
Yes.
best thing that ever happened to me. Right. Or
Yes.
they got out of a marriage or, a boyfriend or something like that, or girlfriend. And then months later, like, oh, I didn't realize how that was draining me or how that was, affecting me. I am so much happier now.
Yep.
Well, here's the thing is having that faith, right? That everything does happen for a reason. When you're working on attracting better, that yes, those things that are not in alignment, even if you don't see it because you're down in the weeds, right? When they fall away, it really was for a good reason, right? Because there was better for you. And realizing, and this is part of like Hermetic principles, is that there's a pendulum, right?
Yes.
Good times and bad times and good times and bad times, right? There's nighttime and then morning and nighttime and morning. Right? It's all reflected. And so is to realize that it's never going to stay one way or the other. So instead of being on the pendulum and riding it back and forth, is I will sometimes visualize standing on top of the pendulum and just looking down and being in that neutral spot of like, okay, well, I see that it's swinging over to the, I don't prefer this, but I am still just going to stay here because it's not going to be that way forever. Right.
Right. Exactly.
As to looking down on it, I guess has been a really helpful for me to not get caught up then into the emotions and the fears and all of that, which that just then attracts more fears and all of that, right?
Yeah.
And suffer even more.
Yeah. And the bad times, make you appreciate the good. And I will also add, and I've said this in other podcast episodes, that when I received my diagnosis, I was just full of gratitude. I'd already been through so many crazy things this year that I was like, oh, well, I guess this is just life telling me, for the 100th time that you need to choose something different in your life. So while we're going to wrap up soon, but I just want to ask you, what is one thing personal and one thing professional where you want to go in your life, big dreams wise? And then lastly, I want to ask you about your offerings and packages and things like that, kind of what's going on with your business. So one thing personal and one thing professional.
Personal is I want to travel a lot more.
Woo!
Yay.
I love it.
Juliette and I were just in Sedona, so that was that was a great travel buddy.
Amazing.
And then
bad driver, Juliette, bad driver. She's never going to drive with me again.
And the professional is what I envision is doing more groups and corporate groups, sports teams, to help them to shift and to make a greater impact. I love my, one-on-one clients and I'm looking for, to do more long-term clients that are really invested in themselves and, knowing that it's a process, and because I pour my heart and my soul and all of my energy into people. So looking for someone that wants to walk that path, and that I can walk alongside them. So that's, I guess, my professional.
For sports teams, would you liken your offering to like group meditation, that kind of thing? Like, can you walk us through what that experience would be like and what the benefit would be?
Yeah. I more like to coach and teach. And so it's a combination. It's kind of similar to what my one-on-one sessions would be. Is what I found is giving that groundwork, right? Or that explanation, so they are able to recognize mind versus soul, right? Because that translates to every area, right? And then getting them into that state of recognizing what their intuition and their guidance is versus mind. And yeah, and with meditation, with those, I guess, group healing sessions, being able to then help them to release the resistance, to release the trauma, to release the things that your body and mind are holding on to. And
I can see that the intuition would be a really powerful tool for athlete to have, because they can really visualize what they want the outcome of their playing style to be, or the game to be, or whatever, and that can really enhance their performance.
Yeah. And right, sitting on top of the pendulum, and that it does swing back and forth, but not getting caught up in that. And and that also, when you're not listening to your intuition, well, our body will tell us through sickness or injury, right?
Yep.
And you'll make our butts sit down, right? And like, you need a minute because you're not listening, And
there's a healing aspect to that. So that's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. That it's not also like, oh, this is a random injury or a random sickness. No, there's a much deeper meaning or lesson or purpose for that.
Or emotion.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that brings me to the name of your company. What is the name of your company?
My company is More Than Physical.
Yeah. Okay. Now it makes so much sense, which I internalized that, but I didn't really, now that we're talking, now it makes so much sense. And then it's, you and you had mentioned that you wanted to do different styles of sessions, if you will. Are you at a place where you feel comfortable talking about that?
Yeah. So I am right now, when I was in Sedona, I got a download of doing more reading sessions, but using, I guess, the energy of, well, for the first one is Native American and guidance, and more earth and ancestor energy. And I am offering 60-minute sessions for that in December. And then in January, it will be with angel energy. And our angels, which in Sedona, we were at a retreat called Manifesting with the Angels, which was amazing. And then in February is the energy of dragons, because dragons with their power, but also their wisdom, and and so I'm offering shorter sessions for that, but then also for longer term clients, for 3 or 6 month coaching clients, to really who are really wanting to up level their life, and not just up level, but to, like I said, feel better, more at peace, and to really in all aspects of their life, is to shift the dynamics to this more peace and flow, whereas as things are coming to them and they're attracting more opportunities and more experiences and abundance and all of that, and getting out of this frantic,
to kind of awaken. That's what I've experienced through all the personal development that I've been doing. I didn't know I could feel this good, and kind of an awakening and up leveling, to a higher vibration in general. And then I also want to say, it sounds like in that vein, you're offering packages to people. So if you are interested, if folks are interested, how can they reach out to you for the services?
Yeah, I can. Well, I can send you my email, and then also I have like a calendar. So I am offering a 15-minute clarity call, a free clarity call to see if that's the right fit for both of us. And you can just schedule that through my website or through my calendar. And
Perfect. And I'll put
I'm
that
also
in the
on
show
Facebook
notes.
and yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
also on Facebook as well. I have a business page on there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your Facebook is very strong. And you do have a website.
Yes, I
Oh,
do.
I
Yeah,
think I,
it's more of a landing
okay.
page than on my my
Yeah.
website. Yeah, yeah.
But that's okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Well, anything else you want to talk about while we're in
I
session
just
here?
want to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be on, and I love the concept of your show and
Thank
what
you.
you are, the light you are spreading. You are this
Oh,
amazing beam of sunshine, and I love it. So I'm so grateful and honored to be on here and to know you. So thank you.
thank you. Well, that is a perfect note to end on. And I really appreciate you. And I'm grateful that we met some months ago at that yoga retreat.
Wow, me too. All right. You never know,
Okay.
right? You
You
never
never
know.
know.
We're gonna
You
meet.
never know where the universe, yep.
Yep. Never thought I'd be on podcasts. But here we are.
It's pretty fabulous.
It is. Love it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I'm so grateful you were able to join us today. Please share and like and review this podcast. Also, if you have any comments or questions about anything, I would love to hear from you. You can reach me at juliettericci@gmail.com, and info is in the show notes. Till next time, have a great week.